Welcome back, friends, to the shop. I can barely lift my arms. We did a 70-mile dirt bike ride with 5 of my buddies, and it was hard. I'll splice in a couple, just a short vids at the end here if you're interested. But our Stanley No. 4 Bailey plane has been in the evaporust for 48 hours. 48 hours. Let's pull it out and let's see how it did with all of the rust. My goodness, this is the exciting part here. I love this stuff. It definitely gives me the fizz. If you have an old tool or something that you're getting ready to throw away because it just is so rusty and crummy looking, just dunk it in this stuff overnight and you'll basically have a brand new tool again. Let's see what we ended up with. Look at that. Sometimes, I mean, if you've got some really rusty stuff, well, that's the paint in there. If you got some really rusty stuff, a little brass brush, you can just touch on it a little bit. But it seems here, and looks how clean that is. Looks like the nickel is still in good shape. I mean, it just saves you so much work. You just don't have to scrub and worry about damaging things. That's really nice, isn't it? I mean, that's a little polish on there with some steel wool, and that's ready to go. That doesn't need anything. Let's look at the chip breaker and the iron. So here is the iron. We're going to do a nice job. We'll put a new edge on that. We got that floor adhesive still on there, but look, that is absolutely pristine. Now, be warned that evaporust strips everything off of here, and that includes any protecting oil, and it will rust immediately. So you want to get that rinsed off with some fresh water. Well, maybe not. Probably not. Probably just wipe it off and just oil it with something, whatever you have, WD-40. Here's the chip breaker. Nothing needs to be done on that apart from just cleaning up that adhesive. Now, I probably, as you see here, see how everything's a little bit dark? It would have been better to leave this in for 24 hours instead of 48 because I have noticed that it does darken the metal when left in there too long. But I was away yesterday, so I actually kind of forgot about it. Here's the frog. That is probably one of the single biggest improvements. It's even kind of loosened up that adhesive that was on there. But pretty nice. Didn't mess up the paint. I mean, we could literally just put this thing back together without even touching it, just wiping off the evaporust, sharpening the iron, and put it right to use, flattening the bottom. Here's the plain housing. Boy, look how flat that is. Or just to the appearance, once we got that rust off of there, I can see that it looks like it hasn't been used very much. Look at that. That it just wipes right off. I don't know what that stuff is, but it sure works good and clean. Get in there with a little brush and some solvent and clean that up. What about the brass? What did it do to the brass? Kind of gave it a little bit of a green tinge, but it seems to wipe right off. You know, brass doesn't corrode. That's why they use it in the marine environments, I guess, is because it's kind of impervious to corrosion. It'll patina, but it won't just like corrode like iron or steel will. Here are the fasteners. Right there. That looks like stainless steel. That cleaned up beautifully. And of course, we've got the brass. The brass goes. The nice thing, it gets in there and gets those threads. I mean, I can literally wipe this off with a shop towel, clean out those threads, and it looks like a brand new. It looks like a brand new piece, doesn't it? Yeah, definitely gives me the fizz. More hardware, a little bit dark in color from the overexposure, but that's all right. And then finally we have the last piece, which is the brass. Boy, my body is so fatigued from yesterday. I've got the perpetual sewing machine leg going on. Today's going to be a light duty day. And it's a little bit black on the top. What happens if we put brass on brass? Iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. Does brass polish brass? We'll see here. Not as good as steel does, but well, there you have it. Let's clean it up here and just kind of put it together and just see how it looks. You know what, guys? I just had a thought. Let's do this. Let's put this all in the basket. I don't like the feel of the evapor rust on here. It's just kind of I think it's water soluble, but it just has kind of a sticky feeling. Is there anything worse in the world than having brake fluid on your hands? I don't know if it's me having some weird sensory issue, but brake fluid on my hands, that would be worse than Sisyphus's torment for me to have brake fluid on my hands. Let's rinse this off, and then really quickly we'll coat everything with a protectant. We'll use the MP metal protector to stop the rusting. Blow it off with a compressor. Or first, then we'll oil it, and then we'll reassemble it, and I'm going to do it differently. Yeah, without going through all this stuff, the polishing and all of that. I just don't see any need to because everything is so clean. See if we can't get it back into action quickly here. With this metal stripped down and degreased, it's going to be, as I said, really susceptible to rust. So let's put a little protectant on here, and let's assemble it. I don't see any reason why we can't reuse these. I mean, there's a little crack in the top, but I don't think that's a big deal. Let's treat these. Now, one of you told me that I was thinking that this was an old plane. I shouldn't make statements. I don't really know what I'm talking about as far as dating these planes. That's a whole. There's a lot of experts in that field. I'll use a little extra here so it can it's so dry that these can just soak in there, and then I'll pour the excess back in. I got this little stainless steel dish at a thrift store long time ago. Man, what a handy thing this is. I'll bet I use it twice a week in the shop. But we can, while we're putting the plane together, let's let that soak up that boiled linseed oil. And that's going to make that wood really happy. It's amazing what boiled linseed oil can do in restoring wood that you think is just a lost cause. You'll notice it, especially if you have shovel handles, maybe garden tools and such, that you think are lost causes. If you can treat them, you can bring them back. They won't be perfect, but they'll be a lot better. All right, guys, you ready for this? This is the good part. If this doesn't give you the fizz, I don't know if there's any hope for you. Okay, so we figured out what this little guy was, this little keeper. Here, I'll show you in a minute. I'm going to put a little Loctite on that. Now, when you use your Loctite, if you have a lot of oil on it, like we sprayed all over that, you want to take a little carburetor cleaner and clean that off, or the Loctite won't bind very good. I'm only going to Loctite, this is maybe this and the handles, but the other pieces, they need to move for adjustment. Here, so we'll put this guy on with our excellent footprint screwdrivers. Some of you ask where to get these, and I don't know. I don't know if they make them anymore. These were sent, and look at the oval handles on them. The oval handle, you can really get a grip on them. More screwdrivers should be made that way. The old timers, they knew. And look how you can just tell it just fits in there perfectly, and it doesn't feel like it's going to strip. It's just a quality screwdriver. Okay, now here's our adjustment knob. So I can't see any harm of just putting a dab of our anti-seize on there, right? Because this is something that we're going to be working all the time. Now remember, that's going to be a backwards thread. Remember when we were taking that off, how difficult that turned? Look at it now. It's just, now that it's all clean and lubricated, it's just, oh, we have to put that, I messed up there. We have to set that arm in that groove. Do you see the groove there? You can see where it's been wearing. This little arm has got to fit inside there. This is what's going to adjust the blade. And as you tighten it, that will go down in there. Boy, that is nice. It's just nice to have something that works properly. Beautiful. That feels so good. Brass threads have just a feeling that just nothing else has. I don't know if it's the weight of it because it's heavy, or they just feel soft. I don't know how else to describe it. Okay, now what I didn't understand last time is that this here, do you see, we have the same thing going on with this screw. Do you see how that fits in there like that? Now this is to adjust the frog. So that you can have the blade or the iron closer to the front or further. And I read about that before. I'm not sure why you move that. I think it's for a different type of wood. We'll get into that. I'll find out for you next time. But you can see there's ovals right there and the mounts for that frog. Those, you would loosen those up, and then you could use this adjuster screw in the back here to change that, right? We're not going to Loctite that because that's going to be a piece that moves. We'll just put a little anti-seize on there. And now when we're putting this back together, of course, this is not one that's ever going to come tight. We'd want to fit that in that groove like that. And now you can see if we were to turn this, watch I think it's the throat right there. Watch the throat of that. See how that frog is moving back and now it's moving forward? That's for adjusting that. So I'll just bring it out to the edge until I figure out what the right way to do that will be. Now we can secure the frog to the base. And of course, we don't want to Loctite. We don't want to Loctite these guys because this is something that I would imagine for most of us, we're going to probably just set it and leave it. So I guess you could Loctite it, but unless you're really into this, I don't imagine you're ever going to move your frog too much. Boy, those screwdrivers are good. Just everything about them. I love the oval handle. And they never slip out. Why are not all screwdrivers made like that? Okay, there we've got that. So this is going to be, is this our next piece? Yeah. This will be our screw there for securing. We can go ahead and assemble this guy right here, right? We'll set this all up and sharpen this here next time and see how it works. But this is kind of one of a kind video here. This is a no-touch tool restoration, which I didn't really think was possible. And of course, we'll just get this close here, the chip breaker and the iron. Secure this. Okay. Of course, the chip breaker goes on top. Now our cap. You'll have to adjust this little guy for that cam action by turning the screw in a little bit till you just get that right amount of friction. That feels pretty good, the way it snaps in there. A little oil on that wouldn't hurt at all, would it? Or even a little bit of grease, maybe. Yeah, that feels better. Now, you can see here, we would loosen this and then we would adjust. I'll show you how to do this later. Adjust the angle of the iron. But that feels good. Also, we would loosen this and now we can adjust how far the iron comes out. Oh, everything moves, it works so good. It was just unusable before. I mean, it was just a rusty mess. And how cool is that? You dunk it in a jug of Evaporust, and the whole thing is usable again. Pretty amazing, isn't it? Okay, so that is pretty well assembled. Let's see how the wood's been in there chilling in the BLO there for about an hour. Let's see how that came out and if we can reuse that stuff. Well, I have to say that looks better already, doesn't it? You want to make your wood happy. Also, a couple of you pointed out that this being a plane that's maybe not as old as some, that they don't use, it might not be rosewood, and I don't know. It could be. It doesn't have that red color. There's a little bit of looks like some wood glue on there. Oh goodness, dropped my fancy screwdriver. I got a little Scotch-Brite pad there. I'll just knock that loose stuff off there. That handle seems usable to me. You can see that there's a dimple there. That's to keep it from twisting. And it wouldn't, I see no harm in putting a little Loctite on this guy here. Don't necessarily want that moving around. Yeah, that screw is it's pretty well beat up. That feels secure. Can you believe the difference? I'll tell you what, guys, I've restored a bunch of these using, wire brushes and elbow grease, and I mean, basically spending an entire day on one. I'm not going to do it again. I actually prefer the look of this. It looks like something that has been used by a craftsman, but it looks like it's usable and serviceable, right? It actually has a better look than having everything all shiny and new and polished. I prefer this. And I mean, how much time do you have into it, right? I mean, talk about a good business idea. If you and your wife or girlfriend went garage sailing, which I recommend you do in the summer, it's get on your bikes and take a backpack. It's fun, the things you can find, especially the old tools. What can you buy an old rusty plane like that for? $5, $10, maybe $20? And what do we have into this thing? Let's say we set an hour aside. We stripped it down and we dropped it in the Evaporust, and then we took it out and cleaned it up a little bit and put together. I mean, that's, if you were to put this on eBay versus the other one, which one do you think would bring a higher price? I'll bet you probably make $100 for an hour's worth of work, and also keep something from getting thrown away. That's such a nice tool. But that just turned out beautiful. Everything just works perfectly. You can just feel it. I mean, compared to the newer one, I have the new Stanley No. 4. It's just not the same. These old ones just they're just special. They just have a feeling. Everything about them just feels so good. Look at that, how good that works. The handle tightened up nice. We've got no movement in that. That is a beautiful, beautiful little plane. I'm very excited about that. So yeah, tell me why you couldn't do that. How simple was that? No touch tool restoration. I mean, what else could you do, right? So next time we can, if you're interested, these videos, the first one I did, most of you didn't, or a lot of people didn't watch it, didn't get a lot of views. So I don't know if there's a lot of interest in this. I think it's fascinating. But if you want, let me know in the comments, and then we can do the last part. I'll show you how to set it up, how it will sharpen it. I'll show you how to flatten the bottom, and then we can try it out, see how it works. But man, oh man, that's going to be my new go-to plane there, and I'm not going to do anything apart from flatten the bottom, sharpen the iron, touch up a few things, tune it up a bit, and it's ready to go to work. All right. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Click the thumbs up if you enjoy these videos, and we'll see you on the next one.